We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Welcome, my friends of the interwebs. I should say my political friends of the interwebs. What you see before you is the Constitution. You see a lot of people on YouTube wrapping themselves with it and dancing around to the point sometimes when it just annoys the shit out of me. But it's an interesting document. It's open for a lot of interpretation. Therefore, we have the Supreme Court. Today is the day that the Supreme Court has decided that Obamacare was or is constitutional. Most of us lost our minds when we seen that, but you know, it is what it is. The 9 people with black robes has spoken. End of story. The only way to repeal Obamacare at this point is to repeal Obama, which hopefully happens this November. This video is to be hopefully considered a video response to the Hoss USMC. He has had some hateful comments to him regarding his position on the First Amendment, and I must say I do not support that. I myself have had some hateful comments from people on the opposite end of the spectrum. I expected that. That's why, if you remember when I made my first video, I told you, I predicted it. I'm a soothsayer. I said that there would be people who literally would tell me that I hated the Constitution, hated the Bill of Rights, didn't understand it, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I knew that was coming. And you know what? That's the beautiful thing about the First Amendment. You throw it out there, and sometimes you get it thrown right back at you. But anyway, for those of you who are hating on Hoss, come on now. If you're coming from my subscription base, please don't. He's a good guy. He's one of my favorite YouTubers. I do not agree with everything that comes out of Hoss's mouth, just like he does not agree with everything that comes out of my mouth. You know, though I will tell you, the last thing that came out of his mouth in his reply video to me was hilarious. I'll paraphrase because, you know, it's just the way I roll. He said, like, him blocking you is not him hating the First Amendment, it's him hating you. Anyway, I want to expand a little bit, and I understand what Hoss is trying to say, and I think that, once again, all the Bill of Rights, you know, all the Bill of Rights are open for interpretation, and you'll never find 3 people that interpret, even let's say the Second Amendment, which I believe me, Hoss and I are both on the same page. At least I think we are. You'll rarely find 3 people, even on something like the Second Amendment, even within the gun community, that will agree on what the Second Amendment actually means, or how it's to be interpreted, or what laws can or cannot be imposed. You know, and I said from the very beginning, Hoss is more of you know, he's more of a chiseled in granite kind of guy, and I respect that. I have no complete issues with that. I just think that let me try to paint a little different picture for Hoss, and for some of the people who don't understand where I'm coming from when it comes to funerals and things like that. And I try to, and I mean, you know, I've already established that I'm psychic, but yeah, I try to channel our founding fathers just to kind of get a feel for what was going on during the Constitutional Convention when they were coming up with all this stuff. You know, when it had to be really something fascinating. I wish I could have been there. But you know, here's the thing. Okay, the Bill of Rights. Okay, your rights as an American does not start and end with the First Amendment and the 10th Amendment. Okay, just that is not the way I perceive things. Okay, I believe that there are a set of rights that are fundamental and from God that supersede and trump the 10 amendments, the original 10 amendments that were in the Constitution. And those rights are basic human rights. Basic human rights trumps the First Amendment all the way through to the 10th Amendment. And I think our forefathers understood this. You know, and I mean, they were godly men. I think there were certain things that didn't need to be written down. And that's why when I talk about common sense, I think that our founding fathers would have looked at, for example, protesting at a funeral, regardless if you were standing on public property or not. I think that they would have looked at that as a common sense issue. In fact, if somebody would have said to any one of our founding fathers, hey, shouldn't you put in the Bill of Rights that burying your loved ones is a right. It's a fundamental human right. Shouldn't you put that down? Shouldn't it be one of the amendments? In fact, it may even be a First Amendment. I'm sure that our founding fathers would have been like, look, we're not going to waste ink on shit that is common sense, that is a no-brainer. Seriously? We're going to have to tell people that they can't protest somebody's funeral? Come on, seriously? You know? I mean, human rights, basic human rights. To ignore them, well, I don't know how you ignore them, but people do. Clearly people do. You know, I mean, I think people get tunnel vision. They see, you know, the First Amendment, and they see the 10th Amendment and everything in between, and that's all they can focus on. Whether their interpretations of those 10 amendments are correct or not, really, that doesn't make any difference as far as I'm concerned. But to ignore basic human rights is a mistake. And I think that what happens when you ignore basic human rights, whether they fall within those 10 amendments or not, I think when you ignore those rights, you create, something that is contrary to the blessings of liberty or domestic tranquility. You know, the first words of the Constitution. I mean, you know, I think it's that basic. For me, it's that basic. You know, one of the most basic human rights that you have is the right to bury your dead. That is to me so commonsensical, so basic, so unneeded to be chiseled in granite, unneeded to be put down on parchment. Totally unnecessary to waste the ink to even write it down. Okay? Because basic human rights trump all other rights. In my opinion. In my humble opinion. In my humble opinion. Do you need to have it spelled out in the Bill of Rights of the Constitution that you have the right to eat? Do you need to have it spelled out that you have the right to love? Do you need it to be spelled out that you have the right to breathe, to drink water, to do the things that are necessary to sustain life? Those are basic human rights. Even when we put people in prison, we don't deny them water. Okay? We don't. Did that need to be spelled out verbatim in the Bill of Rights? No. No. It didn't, because it was common sense. You know, basic human rights trump all rights. Basic human rights are first and foremost, in my opinion. You can disagree with that. All right. Now, do I hate the First to 10th Amendment? No. Am I a libtard? I got a little libtard in me. I've never denied that. I've never denied that. You know, I've always said that, you know, I'm I don't know, what are we, 96% conservative and 4% libtard. You know, that 4% could be a real mother, though. I'm telling you right now. I don't hate the Constitution. I love the Constitution. I just think that, you know, if you're such an absolutist when it comes to the Constitution, you're really pissing all over the domestic tranquility thing. You really are. You know, let me give you another example for my gun lovers out there. And I know that whether you're a fan of the Haas USMC or you're a fan of MBV or Colonel Richard Hunter, doesn't really matter. You're definitely a fan of guns. Otherwise, you wouldn't be. Well, I shouldn't say you definitely are, but I'm assuming that you're a friend of guns. I'm a big supporter of the Second Amendment. A couple of things come to mind. Okay, as far as absolutism goes. You absolutely do not have a right to have an intercontinental ballistic missile. I'm sorry. You don't have the right to have that. Although, if you interpret the Constitution, absolutely, there's nothing that prohibits you from having that, and it is an arm, and you have the right to have and bear arms. So technically, under the Constitution, you should have the right to have a missile silo in your backyard with an intercontinental ballistic missile in it, aimed at whoever the hell you think aimed at the White House. You know, I don't think anybody with even a shred of common sense would say that yes, you would have the right to have a missile silo with an intercontinental ballistic missile. Okay, although I wouldn't be shocked if some of the people came out and said, "You just don't love the Constitution. You don't understand the Constitution. You must be a libtard." Yes, you should be able to have an intercontinental ballistic missile and thermonuclear devices and every other damn thing. And by the way, I'm on record as saying that, in my opinion, you should be able to have an A1 Abrams if you can afford it. Okay, but I think there's a huge difference between an A1 Abrams and a thermonuclear device. You know, I really do. But if you're an absolutist when it comes to the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, you can't take one stance on the First Amendment without taking the same stance on the Second Amendment. You know, but I think that it smacks you in the face when it comes to you know, realism or common sense. You know, another thing, you know, and this goes out to Hoss. I mean, I know you love guns. I love guns. I love shooting. I embrace the Second Amendment. I glory in the Second Amendment. But let me ask you a question, Hoss. If you had a neighbor move in next door to you, okay, that loved guns just as much as you did, you know, would you be cool with him shooting in the middle of the night? Say he decided that, you know what, he wants to practice his night ops. Maybe he's got some new night vision gear, and he wanted to do some shooting from, say, let's say 1 o'clock in the morning till, you know, 6, because that's when he liked shooting. You know, I don't know about you, but I pity the fool who wants to move in next door to me and shoot all night long while I'm trying to sleep, because he will not work out well for him. I will be denying him his Second Amendment right, and he'll be lucky to have lived through it. You know what I mean? Because, you know, it comes down to common sense. You know, it really does. It comes down to common sense. You know, and getting back to, you know, the basic human rights, domestic tranquility, you know, the blessings of liberty. You know, I really think that our founding fathers, if you could go back and ask any single one of them how they felt about somebody protesting the funeral of, and forget the fallen soldier, anybody's funeral, you know, they would probably look at you like you were crazy for even asking that question. Of course, one of the most basic human rights is to be able to bury your dead. I mean, it's just beyond the pale that's even questionable. So no, nobody has the First Amendment right to stand on a sidewalk and scream obscenities and disrupt, and to say that, well, you know, they should find themselves some, you know, some private property somewhere out in the boonies to. No, you know what? How many times you drive down a country road, you see a church, and next to the church, next to the road is their cemetery. You're telling me that the person that passed away doesn't have the right to be buried in that cemetery? Maybe it's their family cemetery, just because there's public property 20 feet from it. You know, I mean, I just think we need to exercise a little common sense, and I don't see. Well, you know, I I don't see any point in going on. It's what I don't see. I could say a lot more about this, but in the end, I want to leave you with this. I just want to reiterate that basic human rights trump every single right in the Constitution. Basic human rights trump every single right in the Constitution. I can't say that enough. Because ultimately, if we don't have the basic human rights, the rest of the Constitution doesn't mean shit. That's all I got for you. Hoss, I love you, brother. I do. Not in a gay way. not that there's anything wrong with gay. I mean, don't, you know, hell, I'm going to end that before I get myself in trouble. Everybody take care. See ya.